Good afternoon, Year 2. Welcome to this afternoon's DT lesson. I hope you've really enjoyed all your home learning today. The first thing I would like you to do is open up your book and write today's date and skill into your book, please. Today's date is Tuesday, the 2nd of February 2021, and your skill is to create and evaluate a moving picture. I'd like you to write this in now and unpause the video when you're ready to begin today's lesson. Off you go, please. Okay, so as our skill tells us then, we are going to be making and evaluating our moving picture today. Now, last week in DT, we created a moving picture design. What I would like you to do in a moment is I'd like you to find your design, so you might have to look back through your book. I'd like you to find your design and answer these three questions. What background did you choose? What characters and objects did you include and how many? And which mechanisms did you add? Okay, so you need to look at your plan, and for the mechanisms question, remember you labelled them and drew the arrows as well to show you what direction your mechanisms would be working in. Okay, I'd like you to pause the video now please and find your plan and answer these three questions. Pause the video please. Okay, so today then you are going to follow a step-by-step guide to make your moving picture today. Before you do that, you are going to need to ask your adults to gather some resources to help you create your moving picture. You're going to need your plan from last week, which you should already have from our starter, some scissors that you can use safely, make sure you're using them safely today, some glue, colouring pencils or pens, card or wooden sticks, although you don't have to have these, you could always use paper to create your moving parts if you don't have any card or wooden sticks. A piece of paper that you are going to draw your background on, and again optional paper split pins. You do not need to have these to create your moving picture. If you do, that's amazing. Okay, so I'd like you to pause the video and get as many of these resources together ready for you to assemble your moving picture, please. Pause the video. Okay, hopefully you're ready to begin then. So step 1. You are going to draw your chosen background. You need to make sure you refer to your plan to see which background you chose. So you need to make sure you look at your plan, because if you planned last week to do a space-themed picture, you're going to need to draw a space background. And if you draw a jungle background, that's not going to help you today, okay? So that's why you need to refer to your plan. Remember, we are just drawing a background, which is the setting for our moving picture. We are not drawing our characters onto the picture just yet. Okay, so we just want the background, not the characters on the piece of paper. So I'd like to pause the video and draw your background now, please. Okay, so hopefully you spent lots of time filling in all of the blank space on your paper. Step 2 then, I would now like you to draw and colour in your characters and objects on a plain piece of paper. Okay, so on another piece of paper, you're going to draw and colour your characters and objects, and then we've got some tips. So top tip number 1, remember to make the characters and objects the correct size relative to each other. Okay, if we had a picture with a mouse and an elephant on it, we wouldn't want the mouse to be massive and we wouldn't want the elephant to be really small, because that is not the correct size relative to each other, because in real life mice are very small and elephants are very big. Top tip number 2 then, make sure your characters are big enough to cut out. Okay, this will really help you when you come to cut out your characters in a moment. Okay, so you really need to make sure you're drawing it at a sensible size that you know you can cut out. You also need to make sure that you will be able to fit all of your characters and your objects onto your moving picture when it's been assembled. Okay, so if your character is half a piece of A4 and you've got 4 or 5 characters, they're not all going to fit on that one background for your moving picture. So I'd like you to pause the video and have a go drawing and colouring your characters now, please. Okay. Step 3 then, cut out your characters and objects very carefully. So please use the scissors carefully and go really slowly, and make sure you go really slowly, especially as you don't want to cut off any bits of your characters. Okay, so I'd like to pause the video and cut out your characters now, please. Okay, step 4 then. You now need to cut out strips of card to the correct length for your levers and sliders, and you can always make them smaller, okay, but you can't make the pieces of card bigger. Okay, so if you want to cut them out quite long and then trim them down when you come to make it, that's absolutely fine. Okay, you may also use wooden sticks. However, if you're using wooden sticks, you will need a piece of card or a piece of paper for the lever so that you can push your split pin through if you have one. Okay, so pause the video and cut out your strips of card or gather your sticks now, please. Step number 5 then. You're going to stick your characters and objects to the card or wooden sticks, okay, that you will use as part of your levers and sliders. Okay, so you're going to need to stick them at the top. And remember, for the lever, you are going to use card or paper, not a wooden stick, as you won't be able to push the split pin through. So I'd now like you to get all of your characters and objects that you've just cut out and stick them onto your card or your wooden sticks, please. Off you go. Step number 6 then. Check what mechanism will be used for each character and object by looking at your plan from last week. Okay, so before we even start thinking about how we assemble the mechanisms, you need to know what character is going to be which mechanism. Okay, pause the video and double check that now, please. So before I start making my moving picture then, and I'm going to show you an example, it's really important that I look at my design from last week. So what I'd like you to do now is I'm going to go through step by step how to make these mechanisms, and I would like you to watch the rest of this video and then take it back if you need to follow them step by step. So if you get to the end of the instructions and think I'm not sure how to make a slider, you can always take the video back. But what I'd like you to do is just watch the video so that you know how to make each mechanism correctly. Okay, so here is my design from last week then. So I had a slider going side to side for my submarine. I had a lever for my dolphin. I had a slider going side to side for the crab, and I had a slider that was going up and down for the scuba diver. Okay, so I know exactly which mechanism I am going to use for each of my objects and characters. So the first thing I need to do then for a slider that's going side to side, so I've started off with making my submarine, you need to draw 2 dots on your moving picture that will represent the start and finish of your slider. So as you can see here, I've got my background and I have drawn 1 dot here and 1 dot here, and that is the start and the finish of my slider, so that when I've made it, it will go side to side like that. Okay, when you've done that, you then need to draw a very faint line, okay, using a ruler, from 1 dot to the other. Okay, you're then going to need to push your pencil or your split pin, if you have one, push your pencil through the first hole in order to make a hole that you can use to cut with later on. Okay, you're then going to fold the page along the line you've drawn, and this will be slightly easier where you put your pencil line. Okay, and you're going to cut on the fold of the line between the 2 dots to make one long slit. So this is going to be a big cut all the way along there, following the line from the first dot to the last dot. Okay, so then you're going to push your character, so you've got your hole here, you've got your cut in your paper, and you're going to push your character that is already on your piece of card or your stick through the slit so it can be moved side to side. So you've got your I've got my submarine here, and I've pushed the card through, and I can now move it side to side. So that's how we make a slider that goes side to side. If you're making a slider that goes up and down, you're going to need to cut a small hole in the paper here. Okay, I ripped mine a little bit there, you can see, so you have to be really careful even though I made a mistake. So make sure it is just a little bit bigger than the piece of card you're going to push through it. Okay, so you can see here this piece of card is just a little bit smaller, okay, than the hole that I made. Okay, if it's too big, then it's going to end up going side to side rather than up and down. Okay, so you're going to push your card through, and then you can push your character up and down from behind using the card. Okay, so it can be moved up and down. Okay, finally then, in order to make a lever, you're going to choose where your pivot will be placed on your moving picture and draw a dot using a pencil, or I've used a black pen. Okay, you're going to push the split pin through the dot on your moving picture, so that was my dot there, and I've pushed my split pin straight through, and I also put a bit of blue tack underneath, so just because it helps push the split pin through the paper. Okay, and blue tack can really help you do that quite easily. And then you're going to pull the split pin back out, so we don't want to keep the split pin in, we want to take it back out. And that is because You're then going to push the split pin through the card on your lever, and that's why we need to use card or paper, because we are not going to be able to push a split pin through a wooden stick. So I've drawn my dot on my piece of card to show exactly where I want to push my split pin through, and that might be a good idea to help you know where to put it, okay? You're going to put the split pin through the hole in the through the hole in the card, and then through the hole in your paper, like so. So you've got it through the card and then through the paper. And then I have unfolded the two parts of my split pin so that it is attached. It won't fall back out, okay? It's attached to the paper. And then you should have your lever in place. So I can then move my dolphin from side to side using this little bottom bit here of the lever. And it just moves side to side. So here is a video then of my moving picture completed using those previous steps. Are we ready? Oh. So I've got my slider there, my submarine on the side to side slider, my lever, another side to side slider, and then I've got my slider that goes up and down for my scuba diver. Okay, and that's my final moving picture. Okay, so you can now then go and assemble all of the pieces of your moving picture. Okay, you can remember, as I said before, you can always go back and re-watch any of the instructions if you need to, and have a look at any of the step-by-step pictures if you're confused about what your next step is. So I'd like you to go and do that now, please. Pause the video. Okay, so when you have completed it, well done for all your hard work completing and assembling your moving picture. You might like to use your moving picture to create a story, so you can move the characters and give them little voices if you want to create a story. And then once you have done that, if you would like to, I would like you finally, as your plenary for today, to evaluate your moving picture. Now, evaluating means we need to think what went really well and how we could make it even better. So underneath your skill and your date, you are going to write your 2 stars and a wish. Now we know 2 stars and a wish really well in year 2. Remember, 2 stars is 2 things that you think went really, really well, that you're really pleased with. And a wish is something that you think could be even better about your design. So I would like you to pause the video and write your 2 stars and a wish about your moving picture now, please. Okay, well done year 2. I'm really looking forward to seeing all of your amazing moving pictures. Thank you and have a lovely afternoon. Goodbye.